Time for Cleared for Takeoff. Rich Kaplan, our aviation enthusiast. And this week, Rich is going to talk about an incredible story, an airplane crash where there was a hole in the plane and miraculously, incredibly, everybody survived. Tell us more, Rich Kaplan.
Thank you, Howie. The Air Niugini flight was on approach to Chuuk Island Airport in the Micronesia archipelago. And apparently, the aircraft landed short of the runway. This is not unusual. This happens a lot more than people realize. But what makes this story so unusual is that the plane landed in a lagoon and sank. And all the passengers on board survived. They survived because they had boats in the area that immediately responded. Even as the plane was going down, these boats were in the area responding. They knew exactly what they were doing. It was another miracle on the Hudson. That's really how I look at this one, a mini miracle on the Hudson. And when you compare the two, they're very similar. I mean, in one case you had US Airways Airbus. On the other case you have the Air Niugini Boeing 737. But what makes this story so fascinating is that the US Airways plane had no hole in it, whereas the Air Niugini jet had a hole in it and sank. And it sank in a matter of minutes. After the passengers were evacuated, the plane began to sink and sank in 100 feet of water. This is a remarkable story of survival, in my opinion, because everyone knew what to do. The flight attendants, though, they panicked from what the passengers were saying. Yet, despite that, I would have panicked as well. If I'm on an airplane, I fly a lot. I can tell you right now, if I'm on a plane and that aircraft is going down, of course, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm frightened. But the one thing that you take into account is you take into account the fact of human survival. Human instinct is to survive. And you're going to do whatever you can to survive. And in this case, you had a relatively large aircraft, 47 passengers on board, including crew. They all safely evacuated from the aircraft. Had there been more passengers on this plane, I think we would have seen a tragedy. I do. Because the 737 is a heavy aircraft. It's a medium range airplane. They're used all over the world. In fact, you go to JFK, you see them all over the place. Delta flies them, American flies them. United flies them. They're a very popular aircraft. It's the world's most popular jetliner, to be honest, the 737. And the passengers on this airplane knew exactly what to do. They all basically managed to wade through waist-deep water to the emergency exits on the sinking plane and get off. And the aircraft itself has 4 exits, 2 on each side and 2 mini exits called the emergency exits. Now, if my videographer can focus in, I can show you what the emergency exit actually looks like. That's one of the main emergency exits right by the wing of the airplane. There's 2 of them. Fortunately, there were only 47 passengers on board, so you didn't have a serious situation where there was panic, where there were people freaking out, thinking they were going to die. They were calm, they were cool, they were collected, and they got off the airplane. And that's why they survived. And I think that that's an important lesson to be learned when you fly, is to always bear in mind where the exits on the aircraft are. Always remember that. Pay very close attention to what the flight attendants show you in the pre-flight briefings. Those are not wasted times. Those are there for a reason. They're there so this doesn't happen, so that people survive. It's very important, and that's my tip of the week, is to pay attention to flight attendants. Don't take them for granted. Listen to what they tell you, because it will save your life.
That's an amazing story. There's a couple other things I want to talk about that I read. Here's a good story. I read it was actually the front page of this week's New York Times, that the 40,000 airport workers in New York are now going to become the highest paid minimum wage workers in the country. They're getting a raise to $19 an hour. The highest paid service workers in the country $19 an hour. That's quite a huge story, and congratulations to them. That's a pretty nice increase, nice pay.
They deserve it. They definitely deserve it. If you ever go to JFK or LaGuardia, I go to airports all the time to photograph planes. I love doing that. That's my passion. And when I'm down there, I see how hard everybody works from Port Authority right down, from the police officers to the maintenance people to the people that pump the sewage off the aircraft. Everyone works very, very hard, and they deserve what they get. And I'll tell you right now, I applaud this $19 minimum wage. I think that it's phenomenal. They deserve it. They do amazing, amazing work. And I wish them all the very best, and I hope to be a part of them soon.
One other thing I want to talk about, Richard, I read this actually on a Long Island Railroad on a flyer, and I thought I got to talk to Richard about this. Is that the casino resorts right near JFK Airport is offering a very interesting perk. They're offering free flights to the Bahamas. Now, I'm not a gambler, but for someone that likes to play, that's a really nice perk. Let's talk about that people are getting, the high rollers or whatever are getting free flights to the Bahamas. That's a cool thing.
It's a very cool thing. If you're a high roller or if you're a regular gambler, you can fly free to Bimini, Bahamas. I think that's phenomenal. It's about time. I mean, it's not promoting gambling, but more so it's just promoting free travel. It's an opportunity to play in one of the most exciting environments, which is the Bahamas. I've never been, but I know I had a cousin that lived in Paradise Island. She used to tell me all the time about the casinos and how amazing they were. So I believe very strongly that this is just the beginning, Howie. We're going to see more casinos doing this. We're going to see casinos opening up in exotic locales. I know that Hard Rock opened up in Macau, China. And I'm not saying that they'll have free flights to China, but if you're a high roller, I can imagine that one of the perks would probably be corporate air travel to China. So I think that this is just the beginning. I think that we're going to see a lot more. This is a trend, and it's a very good trend. But I always tell people, it's a very important footnote, if you have a gambling problem, call and get support for it, get help for it. It's not worth losing your shirt over. I can tell you that right now. I've seen that. But I do believe that this is the beginning of something very big. I think that we're going to see a lot more of it, and I think that this is a very good thing.
Okay, great job. Rich Kaplan, cleared for takeoff. Fascinating story, and we like his input on the other stories as well. Great job, Rich Kaplan.
Thank you.